This is Ross Marquand, Aaron from The Walking Dead, and you're listening to the 365 Flicks podcast.
Crisis for the geek kind. Top geek officials admit they underestimated the hipsters' defense capability. Join the geek revolution and save the galaxy. Geeks from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future. They're doing their part. Are you? Want to know more? Join Weeby Geeks and the Geek Revolution and save the world. Service guarantees citizenship. Listen to Weeby Geeks podcast on iTunes and Stitcher or online at weebygeeks.net. Weeby Geeks, your voice for the Geek Revolution. Want to know more?
Definitive 365 cut. These are the meaningless ramblings of a Scottish redone whore and a pissy ex-video store clerk. Their ongoing mission is to set right the movie wrongs. They're gonna need a bigger podcast.
Hello, you are listening to the 365 Flicks podcast. Indie Talk is back once again. I am the Scottish Whedon whore, Chris.
And I'm the pissy ex-video store clerk, Kev.
Yes, you are.
Fresh off a camping trip.
Yeah, how's your camping?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Did you see any murderers or rapists or paedophiles?
No murders, one rapist, 3 paedophiles, and a field full of doggers, which was pretty cool.
How did you explain that to the kids? Or were you in the field with the doggers?
Well, it turned out we'd pitched our tent. Turned out we'd pitched our tent in a dogging field, which that went down well.
That didn't happen. You made that up.
At like 2 a.m. when I was busting for a pee, and I thought I'll just have a pee at the back of the tent. Went out and there's Jack and Victor and Bob and Steve and yeah.
Get the fuck out.
No, it never happened. Would have been cool though. That would have been a story to tell.
Amazing.
That would have been a story to tell.
You can't just make up stories.
Well, I can, because to be honest, it was pretty uneventful. I mean, we did loads of stuff. We had a right blast, me and the girls, and Lindsay had a fantastic time. We did Go Ape. Go Ape's cool.
Go Ape.
Go Ape, you know, when you go up in the trees and it's like obstacles and you climb around the trees. And
yeah, I've heard of that. Sounds awful.
Yeah, it does sound awful, but it's actually really cool. Like, I really enjoyed it. Like, we only went on the kids one because, obviously, the girls. But, like, even the kids one was like, oh, shit, if I fall, like, I'm in a harness, so I'm not going anywhere. But if I fall, that's scary as fuck, like. But I didn't fall, and it was awesome. And Scarlett, no fear at all in that girl. She was just bombing around the course. But, yeah, we should totally do the adult course sometime.
No, I'm not doing that.
Oh, you should, man.
No.
So how's your week been? Any spreadsheets, any French, any Belgians?
Plenty of spreadsheets, and fuck the French and the Belgians.
Sweet, that's what I like to hear. But that's not what we're here for.
No, it is not. We are here to introduce Indie Talk, and on this episode we are talking to Matt and Dom from Camelot Films. So they are going to talk to us about their upcoming film, Winter Ridge, which sounds damn cool.
It does.
So will we just jump to the interview?
Well, let's hang on a second, because you need to do your world-famous pimpage.
Oh, Jesus. It's a Friday night and I've had beer.
I know, I don't care. Just fucking get through it and then we'll play the intro.
All right, okay.
Play the interview.
Right, we are three. Well, shut the fuck up then and let me do it.
Okay.
You done?
Done.
Excellent. So we are the 365 Flicks podcast. You can search for us on Facebook and on Twitter. If you search for 365 Flicks podcast, you will also find our shiny website, 365flickspodcast.co.uk. We're on a couple of cheeky networks, as you know. We are on the Tangible Network, the Wicked Radio Network, Weeby Geeks, our British home, nerdly.co.uk, as well as the Twitter network, hashtag #PodrinFamily.
Podrin family, that was a very Scottish way of saying Podrin.
Yeah, no, that's a fun beer. Beer you again.
Oh, we Padron.
Hi, are you?
Hey, are you?
Yeah, shut up. Well, what have I missed? You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on any third-party podcasting app on your phone. And also, you can have a look for us on the Satchel and the Stitcher if you want to.
Yeah, but we don't recommend that. We recommend the normal ones, like the big ones. We recommend them. So yeah, that's all the places you can find us. And just a quick thing. I know your tea's cooking and everything, but just a quick thing. I just want to give a shout out to the Sweet Story Bro podcast. It had come to my attention that they hadn't been uploading any episodes as of late. A couple of months they've been. Steve's been sort of quiet. It turns out Steve has taken a step back from the podcast, unfortunately. So go and find it. Have a listen to his old episodes. It's not going anywhere per se. He's just focusing on his writing because he's writing a book that we've talked about before. He's writing like a story called Temporary, which sounds awesome. He's told me about it before. It sounds great. And I'm just gutted that the guy's taking a step back. I mean, I'm pleased because he's going to go and do something that he really wants to do, but the podcast was kind of getting in the way of the story. So he's taking a wee bit of a step back, and I just want to say all the best with the book, and I hope to hear you soon on the podcast again.
Fair play.
I love the Sweet Story Bro podcast. I've loved him since I found him. I think he was like 3 or 4 episodes in when I found him, and we've championed him on the podcast many times. So, good luck in everything, and that's all I want to say. So, yeah. Will we just play the...
Fair play, buddy, yeah. What?
Will we just play the interview?
We're doing this over Skype, by the way, Mike. We should probably point this out because we're speaking of each other like a couple of ignorant arseholes.
Yeah, it does. Doesn't work over Skype.
No, not anymore.
To think we did it that way for like 12 episodes or 15 episodes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember those days.
Yeah. Well, we just jump to the episode then.
So let's jump to the episode. We've got a little bit at the end for our outro, but this is the episode with Matt Hookings and Dom Lenoir of Camelot Films.
Yay. Okay, guys, so we are joined on 365 Flicks by Matt Hookings and Dom Lenoir. Now, have I pronounced your name right there, Dom?
Yeah, it's not going bad.
That's all right. That's fine then. Okay, so Matt and Dom are from Camelot Films. So welcome to 365 Flicks, guys.
Hi, how are you?
Very well.
It's good to finally have you on. Chris has been going on about getting this indie talk done, and it's nice to finally have you.
Yeah, I've been speaking to Daniela a lot. She's been very helpful.
Yeah, Daniela's great. She works with us at Camelot. Does a lot of production managing, social media. A bit of a mixed bag. So she's a talented girl.
She's been very helpful in getting all this together. So so props to Danielle on that one. So Matt, you are the founder of Camelot Films. Is that right?
Yes.
Wow, and you now I've got to ask you about this because you've been a busy man. You've worked on a hell of a lot of movies. You've worked with a lot of big names. Tom Cruise, Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, it was quite impressive. Actually.
Yeah,
very impressive.
Now, what I wanted to ask you about though, Matt, was you played young Micheal Caine in Kingsman, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah. It's been a bit of a roller coaster the last sort of 4 or 5 years with obviously working with those kind of people you just met, Angelina Jolie. Tom Cruise, Micheal Caine, and also obviously producing my own stuff. But I got to play a younger version of Micheal Caine in Kingsman. Got to spend a month with Michael rehearsing, sort of embodying, all his sort of speech and steps and everything. So that was a great experience. And obviously the footage is in my showreel, so that was definitely one of my memorable experiences and times in the industry.
So was it a daunting prospect having to sort of try and emulate Micheal Caine?
I don't know. Yes, it was, but I mean, I kind of I like to break the ice with people quite early. So he the scene that we were doing, he does the scene, and then it's a flashback, and it's the same scene, but it's 50 years before. And when he did the scene, he came off set, and he obviously saw me dressed in all the, his younger attire, and I said, that was a good scene, Michael. That looked great. I was going to give you some tips, but I thought you handled yourself fine. And he laughed that off, and he said, you're a funny little fucker, aren't you? So that kind of set it off, and then it turns out we had a lot in common in terms of films. We liked all the same films with Humphrey Bogart, James Dean, James Cagney, all these kind of things. So we hit it off straight away, and it was very that helped in terms of sort of jumping into who he was and where he's come from and all this kind of stuff. So I watched pretty much every one of his films, and just kind of learned everything I could about him, which obviously, as we all know, is a very interesting character.
Definitely. So, see, my first, the first thing I would have said is I loved you in Jaws Revenge.
That's a great one.
With that, doing sort of Michael Caine's mannerisms and all that, how good is your Michael Caine impression?
Oh, well, do you know the weird thing is, partly the reason I got the part was the casting director said to me every person that come in was trying to sound like him.
Yes.
And because the part was such a embodiment of his movement in his body and the way he walked and breathed and all this kind of, the way that someone sort of acts physically rather than, with their language. So, I actually didn't go in and try and sound like him. I just kind of tried to look like him and act like him. But, a lot of people say, they all say the same thing, my name's Michael Caine, and, blow the bloody doors off. There is, everyone can do it. It's not something that's a sort of special skill. I think it was challenging to walk like him, and
the mannerisms.
The mannerisms. He sticks his chest out. He breathes. Everything's in his diaphragm. Everything's sort of. He's got that presence, and if you look in, watch more of his films in detail, you'll see how much presence he has on screen, and sometimes he's not even saying anything. So it wasn't. Obviously it helps to be able to go. My name's Michael Caine, but it wasn't part of the. It wasn't part
of the training.
Part of the training.
That's pretty interesting. The fact that you kind of got the part because you didn't go full Michael Caine. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I was calling loads of actor friends from London and Elephant and Castle, and they were saying the same thing. Oh, you need to sound like this, mate. He's a right Cockney and all that kind of stuff. And then it was just before the audition, I made the choice not to go with it because I just thought I think they're after something different, and that's what kind of got the nod. And the casting director was a bit relieved. I think he'd heard hundreds of people say, "My name's Michael Caine."
So that's just a hell of a story to say that you've played young Michael Caine. That's just.
You like that?
I was impressed with that.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with that.
Yeah.
So, but Dom, you've been a busy man as well.
I have.
Yeah. So I was looking at your IMDb.
Yeah.
So now you've before. Obviously, we'll be speaking about Winter Ridge shortly. But you've worked as a director and producer on a fair few short films, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Right.
I think a few. No, yeah.
Yeah. It's quite an impressive list, actually. Have all of these films been with Camelot Films?
Yes, actually, Shoe Polish, which was Matt's first written film and a film noir, is kind of how we ended up kind of working together, which was quite a few years now, like 4 or 5 years, I think.
About 4 years ago.
Yeah,
that's when we first met,
and then that's kind of where the interest sort of came together because we were both sort of interested in the genre, and I kind of like drama and I gravitate towards that, but the style of Shoe Polish kind of intrigued me. So yeah, we kind of came together on that, and then several years later we ended up coming together on Winter Ridge.
Nice.
This is one of the things that we're finding quite a lot when we're speaking to sort of your more independent guys, that you kind of find someone and that's who you sort of work with for a good few years, and you build the craft. We've had Tom Payton and Craig on last week, and they've kind of been together for a while now. So it's nice to know that you can get together and make it together.
Yeah, well, I think it's down to people who have sort of.
Back in there earlier.
Sorry, got some people busting in. Yeah, I mean, it's good to find people that have a sort of a similar viewpoint on film, both in like genre and how you approach narrative, what you look for in a script, how far you're willing to sort of push in terms of like production values. And I think myself and Matt sort of work together well, because we've both got that like a very sort of big drive in sort of aiming extremely high in what we want to achieve in film terms.
You know, it's a trust thing as well. If you've been working together previously, you know what the other one is capable of, and what he's been with somebody for a long time, and you know what they're capable of, and all that kind of thing. Obviously, that makes the job a lot easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I think it does, and it's kind of like working out a shorthand in terms of how people work, and I think that's kind of almost more important than the work sometimes is the mechanisms and like how people approach how they work best, and I think and in terms of like how we work in terms of like editing and script notes and even producing, I think there's a lot of similarities, so there's a good sort of connection there in terms of developing stuff effectively.
Sure.
Yeah, we're very hands-on together, which is quite good.
Yeah, that's that's what you want, isn't it? Really, definitely. So yeah, let's talk about Winter Ridge then. Let's talk about Winter Ridge. So this is Camelot Films' first feature-length movie. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a pretty big box
big
to
jump.
check, isn't it?
It's a big jump.
Yeah. So was that a stressful prospect going from the short film, for both of you guys, to a proper feature-length film?
I think we were getting to a stage where we'd done a handful of shorts, and obviously then and now the last short we did, it kind of reached its capacity in terms of short films. Unless you win an Oscar or BAFTA, short films are calling cards to bigger things. And the last short we did won 15 awards, and it screened in sort of 25 countries around the world. 25 festivals around the world in about 10 different countries. So that was kind of like I felt like the only way to go from that was a feature length film. And a lot of the stuff is similar. You're just doing it a lot more, and it's everything's longer, and it's like a short film just carrying on for 10, 15, 20 days. So the ability was always there, and I think the talent's always been there. It's just a case of you've got there's a different system in terms of raising money and kind of putting it out to the market and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, this is our first sort of feature that's been in house. That we're very proud of. We're actually just in the edit now, watching a first cut. So it's looking really good. Yeah, so we're really happy with that.
Awesome. So when you come to actually writing a feature-length film, you mentioned the funding there is slightly different. When you come to actually writing and also directing a feature film, approaching that, what are the differences between approaching and writing the two different types of film?
Well, I mean, for me, like, short films have always been a little bit more alien, because I kind of grew up just watching films, thinking in sort of feature film ideas, wrote a bunch of sort of features and, very low budget sort of ideas in that sort of spectrum. So shorts were kind of, when I had the odd thing that I thought, okay, this would actually work really well as a short, that was kind of almost the exception to how I sort of how my mind works. So structuring a feature film, obviously, like there's a lot more you need to sort of consider in terms of how it all sort of links together. But in terms of creating a storyline and characters and having it all sort of connect, I kind of think it's something that we've got our minds almost in already in that kind of territory.
Sure. It sounds really interesting. Well, I mean, from the blurb on IMDb, anyway. So, can you tell the listeners a little bit about what Winter Ridge is going to be about?
Well, I can tell you a little bit, but I don't want to sort of give away the plot. I mean, I will say it's a psychological thriller. I'll say there's kind of themes of grief and loss. But if I told you what it was actually about, it would probably spoil the film. Do you have any sort of non-spoilery ideas to add to that, Matt? But you kind of, yeah.
I mean, it's about a character that goes on a journey, and he, something happens in his personal life which, kind of affects and parallels his work life, and at the same time, there is a killer on the loose that he's chasing. So it's juggling that with something, sort of that's going on in his personal life, and then there's kind of, there's a bit of a twist and a turn, and
we're being incredibly vague, but basically the motives of the killer is kind of a big theme that's kind of quite interesting, and it's linked to what his kind of character goes through in his own crisis. But yeah, to tell you would be kind of to give away the film. So
no, that's okay. We don't want that. We don't want that.
You've got a pretty cool little cast as well as yourself in here, though. The likes of Hannah Waddingham, who's just kind of finished up on Game of Thrones, and Alan Ford, who I haven't seen for a wee while now. I mean, he's a fantastic actor. So how did they come about?
Oh, best friends, all good friends.
Yeah, it is through one of our friends and a couple of other sort of connections. But I mean, Alan Ford was a really interesting one to work with because. Obviously, he's got quite a sort of a persona in the public's eye as that kind of the kind of character he plays. So I think possibly that's what interested him in this, and what interested us in getting him in this was to play a character that's very different. And has a sort of I wouldn't say a softer side, but he's playing a guy with real sort of drama elements.
He's emotionally driven rather than sort of
wanting to kill people.
Fucking Alan Ford, the gangster.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's a difference in that. I mean, mainly, honestly, when people always say, how you get in contact with cast and how you bring other people in. Once you present something that's that's good, and then they meet the team and they think, oh, these guys are would be good to work with. It's a lot easier because people will, a lot of actors are very, very passionate about what they do, whether they're Hannah Waddingham or Alan Ford, who's nearly 80. They're passionate about what they do. So if you can obviously get them on board and get them to believe in the project, and then they like you
and the team.
Yeah, the team.
I think both of them came on board because they believed in us basically as a sort of as a team, and I think that did have a lot to do with that, as well as the script. Is we sort of had that sort of connection, and working with them was a pleasure as well. So
yeah, and being probably the two biggest names in the film, they were probably the easiest people to work with.
Yeah.
So it was just. I don't know. It's one of those cases, and it all starts with the development and the script and different stuff like that. And if you have a good story, and going back to the writing that you mentioned, if you have a good story and a good script, and you go, right, this is ready to go, that's ready to go, then you'll get people jumping without asking for a huge fee or something. It kind of just generates, I don't know, passion and sort of creating good vibes, I suppose.
We kind of missed our opportunity to speak to Hannah in Newcastle last year. We were at a Comic-Con, and she was doing one of the talks, but she'd completely lost her voice.
That's right, yeah. That's right. And she was speaking with
the cards.
With cards. She had to write down her answers on cards. And, that's not really that good for a podcast.
We kind of thought maybe it was because she didn't want to give spoilers away, because at that point
she's very 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 careful about her voice, because singing is just such a huge part of her career and life.
Yeah, she's like a really big singer in her own sort of stage right. So
musical theatre, and
she's a really she's epic as well in terms of her singing. She's very she has such a powerful voice, so it probably goes quite a lot.
Yeah.
I did keep saying to Chris, I was like, I really want to go and speak to her. And then when we watched that, it was like, I don't think there's much point. She's not going to talk to us.
No. Plus, you had a pre-written no comment card, so
No, we can always get her on if you guys want to do something when the film gets released.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, man,
that would be cool.
So the film, it sounds pretty damn dark. Then, have you guys ever approached sort of this level of dark when you've been writing or directing movies before?
Yes and no. I mean, I think Shoe Polish we did was quite a sort of a morbid tale. Generally, I think the key is there's dark themes, but there's moments of warmth, and there's a lot of sort of drama in it.
And there's atmosphere as well.
It's finding that balance. I mean, Prisoners and Insomnia were sort of good references for that, and obviously, Prisoners is actually a very dark film. I'd say maybe it's not even that kind of dark, but it has those kind of moments, and it's finding the balance that's basically the sort of the key. But I wouldn't say it's a kind of a downer of a film. I think it's got enough to lift you up and keep you thrilled, and to sort of there's warming bits in it as well.
Sure. That's all right. So when can people expect to see it here in the UK then?
Should be early next year, 2018.
Yeah, we're taking it to AFM, the American Film Market, with the sales agent. So it probably will get sold then, and that will depend on the release date. It could go end of this year, but like Dom said, it's more likely going to be early next year, which might be be nice and interesting.
On a personal level, you're saying that you're currently doing the editing and you're about to have a watch of the first sort of watch through. What kind of feeling is that when you've got a full completed piece? Like you say, you've done shorts before, now you're doing your first proper full feature length. What kind of feeling is that on a personal level for you guys?
It's very good, but it's kind of it's just another step. Like because everything happens in steps, you just sort of take everything on as a kind of, okay, this is really good, but this has got lots of room for improvement, and it's always a mixed bag. Like there's a huge sense of satisfaction, but because there's so many sort of steps, and you just sort of end up doing it. I mean, it was kind of like being on set. Like there wasn't wasn't sort of jumping around with joy. We just, you focus on every day at a time, you get every scene done, and then by the end of it, you're at the end, and it's an extended short with bigger sort of bigger schedule and larger crew, and obviously you have to think about how it links together more sort of coherently. But all in all, it's kind of the same, but just larger.
For me, the just seeing the edit now has kind of relived some moments which have been really nice. For me, it's actually at the beginning and at the end, because the filming everyone thinks is always the most difficult part, but filming wise, well, for me personally, it is my most enjoyable side. It's the shortest period, and you generally, the development is horrible, and the post is it's not horrible, but it's challenging. Yeah. So my sort of personal feelings are, I really like developing something and then going, right, this is now happening. That's great. That's such a wonderful feeling. The filming is the most enjoyable side, but then the delivery, when you finish a film and then you see people's reactions to it, I love watching.
Yeah, that's the best bit. Is actually when you finally sort of almost put it to rest, and you sort of have to take a step back, and you sort of see people's reactions, and hopefully they're good, and then that's the kind of moment where that's when you get the validation for me. Like not necessarily until that point as much.
Sure. So with short films, obviously, you finish your short film and then you take it. You mentioned the different film festivals. So with a feature-length movie, how does that differ?
It's more about the marketing process. So once you get a sales agent on board, they will probably advise what route to put the film out into the market. And there's a few areas. You can go down the film festival route, but it's got to be a film. It's got to be a film that's worthy of a type of film festival. And we're not making a horror film, so we wouldn't put it in any horror festivals.
Sure.
And it's got a commercial appeal to it. So it probably wouldn't sit in an awards festival. So it depends what the sales agent recommends. Like, we're looking for a theatrical release for this. It's because obviously it gets the film out quicker as well, and it may sit on Netflix afterwards, or it may sit on a VOD thing after its release. But it depends. If you're making Moonlight and you go down the festival route, the recognition for that is obviously, it can be greater, because if you get any recognition from those festivals, then that's great. But it's a longer route, and we've got quite a few other things sort of developing and off the ground. So it benefits this to kind of get out into the market, show people what we can do, and get people seeing it, rather than sort of going down the whole sort of festival route that's going to take slightly longer. But then again,
and it is a kind of a spectrum as well. Like every film sort of sits somewhere in that sort of bracket between festival and commercial. Like we try and hit both, whatever project we do, but some are more tailored towards it. So yeah.
I think I'm too impatient to wait. I think I would want people to see it now. So before we'll talk about another film that's just been announced. Actually, I saw on your website. But before we do that, tell everybody where they can find out more about Winter Ridge, guys.
Well, so social media should be up and running really soon. So we'll keep you posted on that. And
we are trickling some stills out and a few different things through Camelot's social media at the moment on Twitter and Instagram. There's some really nice stills. We're kind of teasing people at the moment with some stills, which is generating quite a bit of interest at the moment, which is great. There will be like an official press release, and there'll be, you know, an official sort of announcement, hopefully in somewhere like Variety or Screen Daily. But it depends on as soon as the edit's finished, you know, we'll sit down with the sales agent, sort of analyze the market and where we can go with it and stuff like that. But at the moment, we're just trying to put out a few teasers and stuff like that. But we are aiming to get a trailer released for, when do you reckon? End of August?
Yeah.
We know. Yeah, mid to the end of August.
Yeah, within the next month.
Nice. Well, we'll be sure to share it like hell on the 365 Flicks Facebook page. Now, I saw earlier on you have just announced your next project or next movie, Prize Fighter.
Yes.
Now, is that going to be another feature-length film? Or?
Yes. Yes, another feature length.
Awesome. So are you both involved with that, or is it just you, Matt? Or
yeah, no, we're both involved. It's a slightly bigger project again. So we've jumped another sort of step up. It's a period drama. It's set in the 1800s. It's got loads of action in it. It's a true story. So it's another step up. And at the moment we're just with the casting director and reaching out to different people. So it's kind of getting a few feelers out in the industry. But there's I don't want to say too much because there's been some really strong interest with it. But it's looking really good, and it is something that we talk about, you know, the awards worthy and all that kind of stuff. It's something that could do very, very well. When it goes, and we're hoping to film it sort of April next year.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds. Again, I read about it on IMDb and what have you, and it sounds really, really interesting. So, is this connected then to The Birth of Boxing?
The Birth of Boxing was a short, so it's not. We've kind of connected it in a sort of unforced way. So The Birth of Boxing was obviously a short film. We are using sort of material from the short to sort of help with the feature. But it's all about the script. The script's been a very long time in development. It's been 4 years now. So you know it's been a long sort of progression way before certain things were happening. Probably started. It was being written when me and Dom first started working together. So yeah, we're going to use some of the material for it. It has helped with it, but obviously The Birth of Boxing is a short and it sits on its own as well.
Cool. Nice. I am going to check out that. I'm definitely going to check out The Birth of Boxing because it's. Again, I was reading about it earlier on today, and it sounds really, really interesting.
Yeah, we'll send you some links. There's obviously a trailer. There's a trailer online and stuff. We'll be able to send you some stuff if you need to see that.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the things I do want to ask you about, you mentioned before about Then and Now having won 15 awards, being shown over at 25 different festivals around the world, which, by the way, is fantastic. I mean, a short movie, that is fantastic. Well done, guys. It looks very, very personal, and it's quite an important story. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, sure. It's a strange one because when I get involved in stuff, I put my heart and soul into it. So that's a short film that's 10 minutes, and it took me honestly 2 years to sort of from development to writing, because I did so much research. And originally it started as a kind of conspiracy theory to 9/11, and it just got very deep and meaningful. And I got sent loads of videos from people that were involved in 9/11 or lost their loved ones, and these were really sort of private videos that never even been gone online. So I got really sort of emotionally connected to it, and then I felt like there was a sort of an interesting take on taking it outside of America, so showing it from a British person's perspective, and secondly, stripping it down, so it's Julian Glover in front of a TV, and you go through this kind of character-driven journey throughout the story. So so that was great, and obviously me and Dom developed that, which was great. So that was really cool, and that was something that was a passion project. But for 2 years on a 10-minute short, it's long. It's quite a long period of time. But it did very well. We screened at like film festivals in New York, which me and Dom went to, and it was screened on 9/11 as well. So we screened at 3 different festivals in New York on the anniversary of 9/11. So we couldn't even jump, we couldn't even go to every festival. So, and that, we watched people cry, we watched people, be really moved, be stunned, and there was so much reaction that film got, which was great. But again, it's a short film, and it can only take you so far. So it helps. But unless with the short films, unless you really sort of get nominated for a BAFTA or get nominated for an Oscar, it's really difficult to kind of, excel. They're just calling cards for the next thing. But I hope,
And a way to prove yourself as well.
Yeah, a way to prove yourself.
Sometimes you get a chance with a short to explore a bigger concept that would be quite difficult to do on a budget as a feature. So that's kind of nice because you can do that and you can get that kind of drilled into you how to do that. Yeah. And then when you move on to a feature, you've got that kind of ability to scale things up quite easily. And
we developed some good contacts from that. Dom knows Glenn Fremantle really well, who we got on board for the sound design, and he's won an Oscar for Gravity. Nice. He's done all of Danny Boyle's films, and the sound design of that. If you go and watch it again and play, put some headphones on and really sort of engross yourself in the sound, you'll be like flipping out. You're like what Dom just said. You're taking yourself into another world. It's kind of it's just I don't know. It's very dramatic. So those things have helped build contacts and like Dom said, show people what you're capable of, and go from there. And it was a good experience. And but it was only 2 days. It was a very sort of quick process. And again, the festival thing was great, but it was a long. It was about a year stuck in the festivals. And do you know what? I think it's still picking up screenings, which I've kind of stopped. It's just ongoing. But so that was a good experience.
So do you guys try to go to all of the festivals, or is that just completely impossible?
We go to some. We went to a few in the UK, because obviously in the UK, and the only ones that obviously we could make the trip to was New York. The ones that we really want to go to, we screened at Rhode Island in. Which is in Rhode Island. It's an Oscar qualifying festival, but we actually couldn't make it because we were doing development on other stuff. So that was the one that we didn't get a chance to go to. But no, it would be great to go to everyone. But we screened in a country near Russia that I'd never heard of before. So I don't know what we would do if we went there. So
it's a bit of a trick.
Russia,
though.
Bit of a trip, yeah.
So how did you come to get Julian Glover involved in the project then? Because obviously, legend,
That was an interesting one because I'd initially got in contact with his agent, which was completely out of the blue, and I just kind of, got on the phone for 5 or 10 minutes, pitched her the story, and I just got on the phone. I had her for longer than I knew I was able to get, and once you get people on the phone longer, they're either interested or they'll at least look at your work. So the story kind of connected with her straight away when I mentioned 9/11, and it was very character driven. She was like, "Oh, I was here on 9/11, or this is what I was doing," and you could tell there was a sudden interest. And then didn't hear back for a while, and then I think was it you that got back on the phone, and then you came running in and said, "Oh, we've got Julian Glover. This is great." And she called back up and said she loves the script. He loves the script, and that was it. It was one of those things where I felt like the project was strong enough to send to someone of that caliber, and him to be interested and kind of would do it, because I don't know, it's one of those things when you feel like you've got a strong project, you feel like the world's your oyster, and half of the problem is actually just getting the person to read it. Once they've read it, they'll show the interest in it. So and he's become a very good friend. Me and Dom go for a beer with him. He's become a very good friend of ours. So it's I don't know, it's done well for us.
That's awesome. That is absolutely brilliant. Nice. It is one of those stories, like you said before, everybody remembers where they were. I mean, I remember exactly what I was doing at that point in time. So it is one of those things that if your story is good enough about that event, then you're going to get interest.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. It's something we're proud of.
So can people, anybody who's listening to this episode, guys, where can they see that then? Where can they see the film?
Yeah, so on our website, www.camelot-films.co.uk, you can watch all our shorts at the moment that we've released. So there's about 6 or 7 shorts on the films page you'll see the poster of Then and Now. Click on that, and it'll take you to the next page. There's loads of stills on there. There's IMDb links, and there's the film, so you can just watch it from that. There's various other ways. We've got a YouTube channel which is on. We've got a Vimeo page which you can go directly to. But anything at the moment in terms of typing in Camelot Films, you'll come up with either the website or the social media, and you can watch all the stuff. You can also see what we've got in development and the company reel, our social feeds. It's flooded with quite a few things on there. So yeah.
So this probably sounds like a really obvious question, and the answer is just you're gonna laugh at me. But why Camelot Films? What's the meaning behind the name?
It's not a quick answer. It's a long answer. Which
sorry.
No, it's fine. It's got quite an interesting story behind it, because Camelot to me is quite a generic name. I was never really sort of blown away by it. But it's got quite a stigma in terms of the story, which hopefully people will probably talk about in years to come. I was living in several different areas within London, and it was kind of like a property management company.
Which is how we met.
Which is how me and Dom met. So it was a way to live in London for very cheap. You move around a lot, and the company that run this place were called Camelot. They were called a different company. They obviously wasn't called Camelot Films, but they're called Camelot Property Management or something like that. Yeah. Now, in every location I lived in, within 6 zones, I've lived in every zone in London, we ended up shooting a film. And they got better and better. And we shot Shoe Polish in one of the locations I lived in. We shot in another location that Dom lived in a pub, which sounds like we were homeless, but no, it was very interesting because we lived in different areas of London. And it was great, and the rent was very cheap. We shot Perfect Match in another location. So about 4 of our films ended up being in this location. And then when you come to the festivals and you've got to put your name out there, you've got to have a company name, or you've got to call yourself something, and it just became the default to say Camelot Films. So each film has got an adventure, and there's a lot of films out there that I've helped my friends do as well. So there's a lot of films that have been shot there as well that obviously friends of mine have I've let them film, because they were all interesting locations. The one was like a damp dark, gritty pub. I stayed in a warehouse which was huge. There was loads of places. So yeah, that's how it kind of rang truth, and then it kind of took off in terms of the dragon, and then there's a relation between me and being Welsh and the dragon. So there's a few sort of connections to it, but the moral of it is that in terms of that's how it kind of kickstarted the film career off. And then I ended up having people were coming to us saying, can we film here, can we film there, because the locations were that good. Friends of mine were living in prisons. They were living in loads of different places, but all some of them were really nice. I mean, a friend of mine stayed in Adele's house and had tennis courts and swimming pools and everything, and he stayed for like 2-3 months to it was like to look after the property kind of thing. So it's a very interesting thing. And
I think it's creating it's being resourceful as well. That kind of feeds back into the whole film philosophy, and shooting in those kind of locations and shooting the kind of genres that we did.
we were writing scripts based on the locations. Shoe Polish is completely written on the location that we were staying in.
That's a new one. I've not heard that before.
Yeah, it's so yeah. I hope that's it carries on. That carries out to be an interesting story someday. You're one of the first people I've actually asked that. Actually, we've done a few interviews and podcasts and stuff, and sometimes people miss. They just think it's a generic name, and they go, Camelot's easy to choose. So there is a bit of a backstory behind it.
No, nice. There you go. There should always be a backstory behind your production company name.
Oh yeah, right, boys. So one more time. Tell everybody where can they find you on the social media and everything like that. Plug yourselves like hell.
Well, I'm pretty bad at social media. But you can find me under my name, Dom Lenoir, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find everything through Camelot, which has a bit of a presence of the following.
Yeah, I mean, you can generally find more of mine and Dom's work by typing in Camelot Films or Camelot Films Instagram or Twitter. It's all at Camelot Films, so it's quite easy to find. And if I think even if you type in London Film Company, we come up as like one of the top searches. So it's Camelot Films, or IMDb. You can IMDb Matt Hookins, or you can IMDb Dom and see a list of stuff that we've done and what we're doing. And there's plenty of we're overdosed with ways to find people now, which don't know if it's a good thing or not.
And obviously keep an eye out for like Winter Ridge and Prize Fighter, because like there'll be lots going on.
Some of the projects are going to have their own sort of marketing pages and social media themselves, and obviously even then and now we've got pages for that. So we're out there. If you won't, you'll see us or hear about us definitely
sooner or later.
I'm sure it'll be sooner rather than later. One of the things I'm noticing right now, I think we mention it every time on these Indie Talk episodes, is that social media is playing a massive, massive part in sort of independent British cinema, probably independent cinema altogether, but it's playing a huge part right now. And it's great to see when I went on your Camelot page that there's a lot on there, and you do have a nice little following. It's pretty damn cool. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's really good. And our following, when we put out a post, our actual sort of interaction is higher than it sort of normally would be. We did a load of sort of analysis on how much percent you get on likes and all this kind of stuff and different stuff. And our interaction basis is sort of really responsive. But I feel like that's just being sort of passionate, putting out good material and sort of creating a buzz around what you do. And social media is by far. I keep on drilling, some of the old boys and the old people in the game, because they just think social media doesn't matter. But single-handedly, The Rock is the highest paid actor in the world,
exactly.
And people don't realize that is from his social media. He's got 80 million followers or whatever. And this is an extreme example, but social media can make or break you, and we're aware of how sort of how powerful it can be in terms of your presence. You only got to look at companies like A24 or some of the Weinsteins that they're quite high as well. So we're very socially aware.
Cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't get on with social media
You don't.
No,
it's all right. Like sharing things like like Camelot Films and what have you.
You can cut this if you want, but I actually hate social media.
No, I mean it's the people that you read comments on and all that kind of thing. I mostly tend to just hate them.
Yeah, I mean stuff like that. There's a thing out there again to do with the marketing. Social media only has a 3-day lifespan. So if something gets posted within 72 hours, it's something else is taken over. Yeah. So
I think it's a case of like for me, like getting involved in it. It's a case of finding sort of value in what you're sharing. Like either sharing a good film or a perspective on something like that. That's kind of where the interest lies, and where I sort of look for as well is like learning. I guess using it as a platform for learning and connecting with people. So yeah.
Well, that's a good point. We have connected with a lot of people, just like yourselves.
I think we wouldn't be doing half what we're doing if it wasn't for social media. So.
No, I'm with you. I talk as if like I'm a lover of social media, but I absolutely hate it. But I it's one of those things I hate, but I realise the importance of it.
Yeah. One of the things that we like to do, because we'll start wrapping this up now, because we like to keep these episodes to roughly 45 to 50 minutes. But one of the things we like to do when we have guests on is we have a section on our website called the 365 Picks. I wouldn't go looking it up because it hasn't been updated for about 2 months. But what we do is we're getting our guests to choose a movie to put in a list of 365 movies that you think should be watched before you die. So what I'm going to ask you guys now, with little knowledge or forehand, is can you name a movie that you think people should watch before they die, each of you?
One film?
Yeah, that's kind of the crux of it all.
I'm going to go for... I was going to go for a Clint Eastwood film, but I think a lot of people would have already seen it, so I'm not going to go with that. So I'll go for Mr. Nobody, which is one of my sort of favourite sci-fi films.
And I think it's
excellent. Very, very good director and very interesting film.
Fantastic movie.
What's Matt going to go for?
I've got a current film, but I'm going to go for an old film, which I'll be very surprised if anyone's heard it. It's an old 1965 film called The Collector, which is Terence Stamp.
I have seen that, and it scared the crap out of me. Yes, I have seen that, yeah.
That's why I chose it. I think it's a very good. It's quite scary. Yeah, and it's scary because it's so old and it's so in terms of the time frame and what was going on at that time, it was very. I don't know. It was just great. It was just amazing.
It was about. It's been a long time since I've seen it. It was about like sort of kind of like the Grim Reaper type thing, wasn't it? He collected souls of people who had died. Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah, and it had loads of like symbolism with butterflies and the meaning of life and all this kind of stuff. But it was great. It's one of my favorite films. But I mean, I would love to have said loads more.
I know.
Yeah, that's a tricky one, isn't it? That's the tricky part. No, they actually showed that in my school, in my year in school. I don't know why, but it was about 2 days after my granddad had died.
Oh wow!
And they played that at school. I flipped the fuck out. So there you go. No,
it's the reason why I chose it as well. I think it's a film that leaves a mark on you.
Yeah.
And I think it's a film that's timeless. Like I said, if it's 1965 and you could play that now and you could go, this was made last year and it's got that grain, it's got that feel to it. So
I think that sort of sums up nicely, like I think why both of us kind of make films is something that leaves a mark on you and leaves an impression, and it keeps you thinking after the credits have rolled, not just to kind of watch once and forget kind of deal.
Two good choices. And just so the listeners do know, and all our guests who've been on, I am taking notes of all these films. I just haven't got around to updating the website.
No worries, that's all good.
So this has been an absolute pleasure, lads. Thank you very, very much.
It's been good fun. That'd be great. It'd be good to get back in contact when we've got a trailer and a release date, and maybe bring Hannah in and get you all excited about
that. Absolutely.
Yeah. I just really want to shout shame at her. That's it.
Hannah's great
to shout shame at you.
Yeah.
On the podcast, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, this has been fantastic. Whenever we see things, we will post it up on our pages as well. We like to try and pimp out as much as possible. When the episode goes live, I'll send you links and everything. And this is going to make a great episode, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that'd be great. And yeah, if you send us a link, we'll obviously happily post it as well, and put it through our social media channels and stuff, and that'd be amazing.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. People will then have to listen to us talk.
That's good.
We're looking forward to more info on Winter Ridge, and was it the prize fighter as well? I know you didn't give us too much information, but we tried. We did try.
More to follow.
Excellent.
Okay. See you later.
All right, boys. Thanks very much.
Thank you, guys. Cheers for the time.
No worries, man.
Come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum!
Astro Radio Z is a horror, cult, exploitation film podcast hosted by me, Derek Carey. I was one of those monster kids growing up. The one that used to sit in the back end of that video store and scour over every single last film cover you saw back there. From the slashers to the monsters to the sleazy stuff. Yeah, I was freaking obsessed. And I still am. So much so I became a filmmaker myself. Now I bring on all my filmmaker friends, critics, musicians, and any other fans of the dark arts, which are horror, exploitation, and cult film. Are you one of these people? Then tune in and listen to my show, Astro Radio Z.
So that was that.
That was a damn good interview.
It was a damn good interview. I enjoyed listening back to it. We did it like a week and a half ago,
something like that. Yeah.
So I'd kind of forgotten some of the stuff we were talking about. Especially love the stuff about the social media, how we know it's important, but we all hate it. Yeah, that got left in. I really loved the fact that when you go for a job as young Michael Caine, don't always go full Michael Caine.
Never go full Michael Caine.
Never go full Michael Caine unless you're doing the DVD commentary. But that's awesome, man. Really enjoyed that interview. We're definitely going to keep in touch with those guys. Keep up with Camelot Films. Check out their social medias. Check out all of that good shit. Like, share all of it. And they put a show reel out. Did you see the show reel? I think you
shared it on the Facebook page.
The show reel's pretty damn cool.
It certainly is.
But speaking of social medias, keep an eye on our social media because some things might be popping up shortly. We've got some things cooking away. like a little stew, like a little chicken stew.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be interested in some of them.
I think they will be.
Probably not all of them, but it would be cool if they were.
Be fine. Yeah. That's coming on a future episode.
Yeah.
And so, apparently, our hobby.
Yeah, so I'm hearing mumblings about this.
We'll see.
I mean, how's that going to work? I mean, we don't technically like them that much.
We do.
We do.
Well.
We always like them. I mean, we kind of have to. We spent about $1,000 going over to see them. Yeah. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. But anyway, this has been episode 82. This has been the 365 Flicks podcast. And this Indie Talk has been possibly one of my favourites for a while.
Good stuff.
After Craig, because that was just so cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a bit bitchy.
Yeah, Craig's was amazing. Craig's was really good. And it was like 6 hours long. And the guy's going to have us chicken nuggets when we go to set.
I should think so.
Have you been checking the pictures out?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
I have.
That's going to be a day.
Mike shared a picture yesterday of the entrance to it, and it looked spooky as a bastard. So
it looks awesome.
I might have to hold your hand when we go in there.
Okay, well, what we'll do is you can watch the It trailer before we go.
No.
Because that shit looks awesome.
It certainly does not. I've watched it, and fuck that. All kinds of fuck that.
But anyway, man, I'm going to go and let you have your tea, have your drinks. I'm going to go and sort the Ben's tea out and everything. And, man, it's good to be home, and it'll be great to get back on another episode. And if it is with Hobie, that's going to be even better.
Oh, yes.
Enjoy your night, my man.
Aye.